Hello Total War Gamers, my name is Deacon and welcome to the nursing home or the recovery home or whatever you'd like to call it. And as I've mentioned in one of my most recent uploads, I was going to show my current situation, which is in a wheelchair. So right now, yeah, just to show off, I'm actually in a wheelchair. So in the previous vid I've shown the pin that they removed from my leg, and right now I do have some x-ray pictures to show what the result of the operation is. So if you go here, you can clearly see they put in 2 screws now in my hip where there was previously 1. Also the pin is actually now thicker, and they drove it down further by drilling out a hole first, and now there's 2 more sizable screws in the knee part, and you can still see a tip of one of the previous screws that they just left in there, still sitting there. So I'm kind of waiting for my wound to recover, and then once that is healed, I can start and try to build up my physical health again. And in the meanwhile, I do try to make some recordings every now and then. It's just that in the hospital here, the upload speed is rather low, so I can only do 2, maybe 3 uploads per day. And if I do short recording sessions of say like half an hour or so, I obviously have the energy to do 3 recordings, sometimes more. So I think either we'll improve the upload speed, or I'll have plenty of recordings to upload when I get home later. But stuff that I'd like to talk to you about, I'm not just a regular gamer, and I've mentioned this before. I have a love of history, and most particularly military history, so I'm kind of like an armchair general, I guess. I love to read about pure, unsalted, non-novelist kind of history books. And besides that, stuff that I find interesting, I usually eventually want to try it out myself. So I've purchased a traditional handbow, for example, and I've started archery, so I'm a traditional archer. And same goes for horses, for example. I have been traveling around and used to mount horses in different locations, and I always loved it. So at some point I said, like, what the heck, let's take lessons. So I've had like 20 or so just to improve my riding skills. And this is just awesome. I have experiences like driving with cattle in Venezuela, like over 1,000 cows, and just riding amongst them, causing a stampede was wonderful. I love guns, so I live in the Netherlands, so obviously you can't just own firearms here, but I do have a very powerful PCP 6.25 millimeter gun, which it'll kill a swine, for example. And maybe in later videos I will show you shooting and the sound of it. I play naval battles in Empire Total War and Napoleon as well. I'm a sailor, so ever since I was 15 I've done a fair share of sailing. I've taught myself how to sail, and the longest trek was actually on the Mediterranean, bringing a yacht from Athens to Marseille in France. It was like 1,100 kilometers, I think, maybe 1,400. We spent like 11 days sailing straight with just one stop in Sicily. So that was obviously an awesome experience, but I do know how to navigate and how to sail with the wind. So it helps if a game is realistic, and I will have a slight edge, I guess. I do also love swords, so I have a sword collection. I'm not much of a sword fighter, but then if I should fully recover, that's one of the things I would like to get into later. Now, concerning Warhammer, I'm not much of a Warhammer tabletop player. However, I'm really a collector, so I have a complete collection of the Bretonnian army models. I think if you start counting the first 4 editions, then obviously there's very few of those around. But between then and the final editions, I can say that I own pretty much everything. So I have like 10k of Bretonnian points standing around in closets, unfortunately unpainted. it's always been a project that I'd like to continue at some point and finish the painting job. It's just I haven't had the time, and whenever I do have time now, there's games that also provide a Warhammer experience, which is also very satisfying, also aesthetically. So there's that. I've gone into modding eventually. In 2016, I've taken 3 months to make some changes to my own Third Age Total War game. I wanted to play multiple factions controlled by myself, for example, all the Northmen, or all the Elves, or all the Dunedain, or all the good guys. Basically, I ended up doing that, playing 7 factions by myself. But there was a bug that your generals wouldn't age properly if you play them all yourself in hot seat, that is. So I dived into that. I found a way to fix it. So I have my own mod that I started with just a change to hot seat and proper aging. I also brought in 6 turns per year, and then from then on I basically started changing everything I could change that appealed to me. And by now I've forgotten most of it. It's down there somewhere. It's like over 1.5 years ago. I haven't done any modding since, but there is like a pre-alpha version of a Deacon mod standing around on my PC somewhere that I'm eventually going to show it off on my YouTube channel. So that's there as well. And I'd be looking for testers and for other modders, because I can't do 3D modeling. So unfortunately, campaign map changes and new textures, that is, as things are, is beyond me. And honestly, I don't really think I'm going to go into it. Another thing is, I've learned less than a year ago that I have attention disorder, hyperactivity, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which is ADHD, and kind of explains, I think, my gaming background. I played games ever since the inception of PCs. So my first PC was operating on 8 megahertz, and then if I push the turbo button, it would go up to 16 megahertz. So I've played all those, the first edition of Colonization, actually that was Civilization, first edition, Dune 1 and 2, Command and Conquer, well, like F-19 I think was like the first major flight simulator, Railroad Tycoon. I've played all those games for hours and hours, and eventually I ended up with the Total War series, which is just, it really has what I like. I've played Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 at the time. I used to own Neverwinter Nights and Icewind Dale as well. I just never really got into that. I've played some of the first MMOs out there. My first one was Earth and Beyond, which I doubt anyone knows, but it used to belong to Westwood Studios, which has since been taken over by EA, all well known to you, which kind of killed the whole gaming industry, if you ask me. I mean, Talent was bought, and then the talented developers left the company. That's basically what happened. Anyway, I've played Lord of the Rings Online, Pirates of the Burning Sea Online, EVE Online, and Star Wars: The Old Republic. Knights of the Old Republic RPGs by BioWare. I still love BioWare. It's just that I think they've strayed from their path in certain ways. But I'm not going to go in depth into that. But anyway, ADHD, yeah, it helps me bringing down all the stimuli, because I get a single focus just with the game, and I put my headset on, and then it just reduces the noise from outside, and it's wonderful. And I only have to deal with just the stuff that the game gives me, which is predictable and controllable in a certain way. So yeah, I relax playing a game. Then I've traveled the world. I've done a lot of travels in, I've already mentioned Venezuela, but I was in Ecuador and Costa Rica and Cuba and Guatemala and Mexico, United States, and then also the East, like China, and I've been to North Africa, Morocco, and Israel, and well, tons of countries, and those were in my younger years, really. But I've picked up on different languages since then. So my early career, I spoke 5 languages and did a lot of trade as well. I ended up being an entrepreneur, so I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've founded like 7 different companies, 4 of which are still operating, and all in all, it's generating multi-million dollar, if you want to speak in dollars, revenue per year combined. But I've since then made a career switch. I'm now a full-time student again of theology, that is, not even history. Theology is like history with a twist. But I am a public speaker as well, and so I think the largest crowd I've been able to address in public was like 1,500 people, and I've done live performances of music as well. I'm a musician, so I played bass and guitar, and in one of the concerts I think we had the pleasure of playing for like 300 people or so. So that's just some of the things that I've done, and I'm not just all about gaming. Whenever I play a game and do a live commentary, this is all in the background, and well, stuff you might run into. If you like, of course, I'm gonna try and show my guns, my swords, my bow. I have one single bow, but a lovely one at that. And when I'm out of this wheelchair, I might even do a little demo shooting. So if you've liked this video, please leave a like. If you're into the Total War series, that's probably what most of my content is going to be focused on. I do own other games that I've bought and never really gotten into. I have the Mount & Blade series, I have Ultimate General. It's untouched. I haven't even booted the game. So expect mostly Total War from me, and also feel free to reach out, and there's a link to my Discord in most of my videos. And one thing left to say is subscribe.